We've all heard the term cybercrime thrown around, right? But what does it actually mean? It's this kind of shadow world that affects everything from our bank accounts to our national security. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and really get into this complicated and honestly constantly changing threat. Okay, let's just start with a number to put this whole thing into perspective. 81 billion pounds. That's the estimated cost of cybercrime to the British economy every single year. Yeah. This isn't some small-time technical problem, you know? It's a massive financial hit that really shows you just how serious this is. So, with a price tag that huge, you'd think we'd have a really clear idea of what we're up against. But that's actually the first big hurdle. When we talk about fighting cybercrime, what are we actually fighting? Believe me, the answer is way more complex than you think. All right, so let's tackle the most basic question of all. What is cybercrime? It seems like something we should all know, but the truth is, even the experts, we're talking law enforcement, academics, they struggle to pin down the shape-shifting threat with one solid definition. And this is where criminologist David Wall just hits the nail on the head. He points out that cybercrime is really more of a catch-all phrase. It's not a specific legal thing. And that is a huge problem. I mean, think about it. If you can't clearly define a crime in the law, how on earth do you police it or prosecute it or even prevent it? This vagueness is a massive roadblock for authorities all over the world. So to really wrap our heads around this, we have to stop thinking about old crimes just, moving online. That's not it. We need to understand how the internet itself, how cyberspace, completely changed the game by creating brand new opportunities for criminals. David Wall talks about these 4 transformative keys of cyberspace. Think of them as the core features of the internet that criminals just love to exploit. Globalization, that means crime isn't local anymore. Distributed networks, that just means there are a million new ways to find and create victims. Remote surveillance lets crooks watch us from thousands of miles away. And the digital data trails we all leave behind, well, that's a goldmine for anyone who wants to steal your identity. This little matrix here really helps break it all down. So the internet does 3 big things. First, it gives criminals more chances to commit old-school crimes, like fraud. Second, it creates totally new ways to do those same old crimes, like massive identity theft rings. But here's the real game changer, this 3rd level. The internet creates entirely new types of crime, things like denial of service attacks or huge-scale intellectual property theft, stuff that just literally couldn't have existed before the web. So if the crimes themselves are new, what about the criminals committing them? Well, this is where things get really interesting. And kind of backwards. The profile of a cybercriminal basically flips everything we thought we knew about why people turn to crime in the first place. For decades, the study of crime has linked it to things like poverty, where you live, social exclusion. But cybercrime? It throws all that out the window. It's what they call anti-spatial, which just means it's not tied to any physical place. And get this, instead of being driven by being pushed to the margins of society, it actually requires skill, knowledge, and privileged access to technology. So, the big takeaway here is that the people doing this stuff don't just break the law. They break all of our assumptions about who a criminal is. As the source material says, they're atypical. These are often educated, skilled, tech-savvy people, the complete opposite of the profile that law enforcement has been trained to look for generations. Okay, we've talked a lot of theory, but what does an actual cyber attack look like? Let's get practical and dissect one of the most common attacks out there so we can see the playbook in action. I am sure you have heard the term phishing. You've probably even gotten a few of these emails yourself. At its core, it's a digital con game. Scammers pretend to be a legitimate company, your bank, Amazon, a delivery service, to trick you into just handing over your personal info, like your passwords or your credit card number. Here's how it usually goes down in 3 easy steps. First, the criminals build the trap. They create a fake website that looks exactly like the real one. Second, they send out the bait. This is that fake email that looks legit and creates a sense of panic, right? Verify your account now, or your package has a problem. Finally, they spring the trap. You click the link, you enter your login details on their fake site, and boom, your info is stolen. And the really sneaky part is they often forward you to the real website right after, so you might not even realize what just happened. Now, you might think you're too smart to fall for this, but here's a wild fact. About 8 out of 10 phishing emails have really obvious spelling or grammar mistakes in them. And yet, the trick still works on millions of people. It's just a powerful reminder that these attacks aren't just about technology. They're about psychology. They're designed to catch you off guard. But phishing, which really relies on tricking you, that's just one tool in the toolbox. The other big one, of course, is hacking, basically breaking into a computer system using technical skill, not deception. Sometimes that's the end goal, but a lot of the time it's just the first step to much bigger crimes, like stealing massive amounts of data.
Okay, let's zoom back out. So we've got new kinds of crime, totally atypical criminals, and this whole playbook of digital attacks. When you add all that up, you're left with this uniquely modern problem that really challenges the basic ideas of law and order. Let's go back to that key phrase again, anti-spatial. This really is the heart of the problem. You know, traditional crime happens in a physical place. A robbery happens at a bank on a specific street corner, but a cybercriminal in, say, Eastern Europe can attack a victim in the United States using servers that are hosted in Asia. So whose laws even apply? Who's supposed to investigate that? The whole idea of jurisdiction just kind of falls apart. And that is exactly why just trying to fight this country by country is pretty much doomed to fail. This borderless crime creates these huge fundamental challenges for everybody. It stretches our technology to its limits, it makes our laws feel ancient overnight, it breaks all the old models of criminology, and it leaves law enforcement playing a constant game of catch-up. The only way to move forward is with a coordinated, global response. And all of this leaves us with one final and really critical question. If crime now has no borders, our policing and our justice systems have to learn how to operate without them too. But what does that actually look like? How do you build a justice system for a world where the crime scene can be everywhere and nowhere all at the same time? Honestly, that might be the single biggest challenge of our digital age.